Hello, friend. This is Ryan Hicks of TalkToProfit.com, and today I want to talk to you about the reason why you should be judgment-free. Many people think that it is their place in life, their God-given opportunity and obligation even to judge other people, what they're doing, why they're doing it. And I'm not talking about in a situation where you're mentoring somebody or you're teaching them or whatever, and that's part of the situation where you have to critique and help them to improve, and they want that improvement. This is where people are they talking about politicians, talking about this person over here and this person in leadership and why these people are doing this. And they're all this bad-mouthing and speaking evil of people of what they really don't know anything about. But they presume they have this right, this duty even, to judge. And Jesus said in Matthew chapter 7, verse 1 through 2, "Judge not that ye be not judged, for with what judgment ye judge, ye shall be judged, and with what measure ye mete, it shall be measured to you again." Now, oftentimes this verse is used for people who are doing wrong, caught in the act, and they are using this as an excuse, a justification for why they shouldn't even be penalized or looked at crossly. And that's obviously not what's going on here. This is Jesus talking about not the person doing wrong, but the person judging the other person who is perceived to have done wrong. And that's a very different situation. And in that situation, you're going to reap the same mercy that you've sown. You're going to reap the same judgment that you've judged. And by the law of attraction, you are going to be sowing judgment, mercilessness, if you're enacting judgment yourself. And that's not what most people want. And they get in that trap of doing that. Now, the reason why, if you really step back and think about it, why does someone judge someone else? It's because they want to feel superior. It's because there's a sense of, I'm better, I'm more righteous, I'm more holy than them because look at what they're doing that I have noticed and pointed out. But is that doing any good for anyone? It's not doing any good for the person that's doing wrong. It's causing them to be defensive. In many cases, people are pointing out things that they're doing themselves. That's why Romans chapter 2, verse 1 says, "Therefore thou art inexcusable, O man, whosoever thou art that judgest. For wherein thou judgest another, thou condemnest thyself, for thou that judgest doeth the same things." And that is so often the case. And even in the context of Matthew chapter 7, where Jesus says, "Judge not, you be not judged," even in that context, it was talking about people who were hypocrites. And they're criticizing someone's speck, a little splinter in their eye, when they had an entire beam in theirs. Now, first you take out the beam out of your eye, then you can righteously judge. And that's something Jesus said in John chapter 7, verse 24. "Judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment." But here is the key to that, and so often missed. When you're judging righteous judgment, your heart and motive and intent is one of compassion and love. You're not going to judge them in the first place, not in the traditional sense of judgment. You're going to see an area and want to come alongside them and help them and bless them and be beneficial and edifying to them, not tearing them down, not telling someone else about someone's faults, not thinking in your heart that you're better than them, but it's a righteous judgment, one that's pure, just, and holy. And we see this in context because later on in the next chapter in John, Jesus says this, "Ye judge after the flesh, I judge no man." If anyone had right to judge anyone, it was Jesus. Sinless, perfect, and yet he didn't. And yet he was very clear, "I judge no man." Now, often people profess to be Christians, but they don't want to actually be Christ-like. They don't want to follow Jesus and look at his way of life and practice and be like that. And yet here you have his very own words that he doesn't judge any man. And that the first part of that verse is very important because it says, "Ye judge after the flesh." See, that's the problem that comes into judgment. when you don't have that sense of being at a higher level elevation where God is, where you can see the inner workings of all things and know all things, you can't make a righteous judgment. So you're left to fumble around and judge after the flesh. And that always leads to error, and in itself is an error. Because you don't have a right, because you don't have a fullness of wisdom to know that situation and that individual specifically to make a righteous judgment. This does not mean that you excuse murder or rape or any obvious evil thing. There are laws, and God has set up rulers and people to administrate laws in that domain to deal with evildoers. But it's not your place to go around judging random people and putting forth your supposed holiness out there to everyone. Oh, look what you did. Oh, look at this person over here. Oh, did you hear about this politician? Oh, did you hear about this CEO? Did you hear about this person did this? Did you hear about this celebrity? And all these things where people are talking great swelling of words about others that they don't know anything about. Now, this isn't easy because traditional culture teaches people to be fools and judge people and go around just in utter folly and at the depths of foolishness, critiquing and nitpicking and finding fault here and there. And all such things are evil. If the very Archangel Michael would not bring a railing accusation against the devil, who are you to bring a railing accusation against your fellow human? It's just foolish, my friend. You need to be one who raises to a higher level, who holds yourself to a higher standard. Instead of judging other people, why not judge yourself? Examine yourself, see whether you're in the faith. Examine yourself, see if you can operate at a higher level. And can you today become closer to being like your Father in heaven? Be more like God. Can your operations today and day in and day out be more and more like your Heavenly Father? Because it's easy to fall in line with churchgoers and professing Christendom and doing all these things and getting into politics and getting into this and that. But what if you hold yourself to the highest standard, the standard of Jesus, who said, I judge no man? The one who said and commanded even, and if you love him, you will keep his commandments. Judge not that ye be not judged. That's one prescriptive because it's something you need to do, but it's also to help you because if he tells you why, because the judgment you judge, you're going to be judged with. Do you want to be merciless? Do you want to be nitpicking? Do you want to be fault finding? Because you're going to have that all come back to you. And as with anything, law of attraction, anything sowing and reaping, it's going to be a harvest. So it's going to be more than you dished out. You may have did a little bit of judging. You're going to get a huge amount of judgment as a harvest. It always comes back some 10, some 30, some 100-fold. That's what's going to happen. And that's not what you want. And whatever fleshly stimulation, fleshly joy and pleasure you get from judging someone else, from making yourself feel more important or better than them, more righteous than them, more holy than them, whatever it may be that you're getting out of that judgment, the tragic results, the tragic harvest that you're going to receive from it is going to undo all of that perceived pleasure, perceived happiness and joy you get from critiquing someone else and judging them. This is not to say you don't point out righteousness. This is not to say that you don't speak forth the truth. Of course you do. But you do it with love. You act in love. You walk in love. Your ever motivation is always that of love and being more like your Heavenly Father. It's not to make someone look bad. It's not to make yourself look good. It's to glorify God and let your light shine before men so that they will also glorify your Father which is in heaven. My friend, I pray this is a blessing for you. May God bless you richly.